The 4 lucky coins. Grandpa! Alex's voice echoed through the house as he ran down the stairs, clutching something in his hand. His heart was racing, his eyes wide with excitement. He had just discovered something amazing in the attic. Grandpa, you need to see this. Jim, Alex's grandfather, looked up from his chair by the window. He smiled, as if he already knew what Alex was about to say. What's all the fuss about, Alex? Alex burst into the living room, practically tripping over the rug in his excitement. He held out a small, dusty wooden box in his hands. I found this up in the attic. It was buried under some old newspapers. I opened it and look what was inside. Jim raised an eyebrow. He could see the excitement on Alex's face, the same sparkle he had seen in his own eyes when he was young. Well, let's see what you've got there, he said, his voice soft and curious. Alex carefully opened the box, revealing 4 shining gold coins inside. They gleamed in the dim light of the room, their surfaces etched with strange, intricate symbols. Whoa! Alex exclaimed, his voice filled with awe. Grandpa, are these real gold coins? Jim leaned forward, his gaze falling on the coins. A small smile tugged at the corners of his lips, and his eyes seemed to soften, like he was remembering something from long ago. Yes, they're real gold, he said slowly. But they're not just any coins, Alex. Those coins are very special to me. Alex's eyes widened. Special? How? What makes them so special? Jim took a deep breath, as though he were considering how to begin the story. Then, he looked up at Alex with a knowing smile. Well, those coins have a bit of magic to them. They're lucky coins. But it's not just that. They have a feature, something that you won't see unless you understand what they're for. A feature? Alex repeated, his curiosity piqued. What kind of feature? Jim leaned back in his chair, his gaze distant as if he were seeing something beyond the room. Let me tell you a story. A story about when I was about your age. That's when I found those coins. It was the summer of 1954, and I was about 10, just like you. My family lived in a small house on the edge of a forest. I loved the forest. It was full of mysteries, old trees, hidden paths, and strange sounds that always made my imagination run wild. My friends and I would sometimes go exploring in the woods, but no one ever went too far. We always heard stories about strange things happening deeper in the forest, things people didn't talk about. But, like you, I wasn't afraid. I was curious. One afternoon, I decided I would go on an adventure by myself. I wanted to find something no one else had seen, something no one had dared to discover. I packed a small bag with some food, a flashlight, and a bottle of water. I promised my parents I wouldn't go too far, but of course, I didn't listen. I walked deeper into the woods than I had ever gone before. The trees seemed to grow taller, and the shadows grew deeper as I ventured further. It was quiet, almost eerily so. But then, I saw something that caught my eye, a glimmer of light, coming from behind a cluster of thick bushes. I pushed through the underbrush and came upon a small clearing. In the middle of that clearing was a rock formation that looked like an arch. Underneath it was a narrow gap leading to something hidden. I crawled through the gap and found myself in a large, hidden cavern. It was dark, but my flashlight lit up the space just enough to see the stone walls, which were smooth and polished, as if someone had carved them long ago. There, in the center of the cave, was a large chest, wooden, old, and covered in moss and dirt. A chest? Alex asked, his eyes wide. Like a treasure chest? Exactly, Jim nodded. A treasure chest, hidden deep in the forest. It was the last place anyone would have thought to look. But I knew. Something told me it was meant for me. I remember feeling nervous but excited. I had heard stories about hidden treasures, but this was real, right in front of me. My heart raced as I wiped away the moss and dirt, revealing the chest's rusty lock. I didn't have the key, of course, but that didn't stop me. I picked up a large stone and smashed the lock open. It took a few tries, but eventually, the lock broke, and I was able to open the chest. Inside, I found something I could never have imagined. 4 gold coins. They were unlike any coins I had ever seen before. They weren't shiny like modern coins. They were old, with faded inscriptions and strange symbols etched on the surfaces. They looked like they had been crafted by someone who knew how to make something beautiful and powerful. But that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was when I touched them. At first, I didn't notice anything unusual. But then, as I held one of the coins in my hand, I felt a strange warmth spread through my body. It was as though the coin was alive, like it had a pulse of its own. I looked around, and the forest outside the cave seemed different, brighter, somehow. The wind picked up, and I could hear the rustling of leaves as if the trees themselves were whispering. "Wow," Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. "What did you do with them?" "I took the coins. I didn't know why at the time, but something told me they were meant for me. I slipped them into my pocket, and from that moment on, everything changed. After I left the cave and returned home, I noticed something different about the world around me. It wasn't just that things seemed brighter, though they did. It was more than that. Every time I held one of those coins, it felt like the world opened up in ways I couldn't explain. Small things would happen, like finding money when I needed it, or meeting people who helped me out just when I was in a tough spot. But the most important thing about those coins, Alex, was that they taught me something. Sometimes, luck isn't just about finding treasure. It's about finding the courage to go on an adventure, to take risks, and to believe that the world has something good in store for you, even when it doesn't seem like it. I kept the coins hidden away, safe and secure. Over the years, they became my secret. Every time I was uncertain, I'd hold one of those coins, and somehow, everything would turn out okay. They became my lucky charm, my reminder that life, like the forest, was full of hidden paths and untold stories. "So the coins really did bring you luck, Grandpa?" Alex asked, still holding one of the coins in his hand. Jim smiled. "Yes, they did. And it's not just luck, Alex. It's what you make of it. These coins were a part of my adventure, and now they're part of yours. Do you think I'll find my own adventure someday?" Alex asked, looking down at the coin. Jim nodded, his eyes sparkling. "You already have, Alex. The adventure is always there, waiting for you to take that first step. But remember, luck isn't the only thing that will guide you. It's your courage, your curiosity, and your heart that will lead you to where you need to go." Alex stood up, the coin still clutched in his hand. He walked over to the window and looked out at the horizon, wondering what kind of adventure awaited him. The coin in his pocket felt warm, almost alive, and for the first time, he felt ready to take on the world. "I'm going to find my own treasure one day, Grandpa," Alex said, a confident grin spreading across his face. Jim watched him, his heart swelling with pride. "I know you will, Alex. And when you do, you'll remember that the true treasure is the adventure itself,